Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Eagles fans, to a YouTube exclusive edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast. I'm your host, Louis DiBiase, reporting live from Mobile, Alabama, the home of the Reese's Senior Bowl. The Senior Bowl week has officially come to a close after today's game at South Alabama Whitney Hancock Stadium. The national team getting a 20-10 win over the American team, and I'm going to get my biggest takeaways for you from the game on this YouTube edition of Locked On Eagles. You can also subscribe to the podcast on all platforms for 5 episodes a week, and we post those on YouTube as well. And we're on Twitter at Locked On Birds, at DiBiase LOE, and my co-host Gino Camilleri is on Twitter at GC24_football. What an amazing week of football with some awesome draft prospects that really helped their stock in the 2022 NFL draft. There were a lot of players down in Mobile, Alabama that I think are going to be stars at the next level on both sides of the ball. A great week of practices. Really finished off today with, I thought, a high energy game, especially up front on the defensive lines. And so for the takeaways today, I'll get into what I was impressed with the most and, some players that I thought could have did a whole lot better. But I thought overall the game, the biggest takeaway today was how deep this pass rushing class of 2022 is. And it is a massive step up from last year where the prospect pool was at, especially with edge rushers. But today, it wasn't just edge rushers that stole the show, but defensive tackles as well. I thought overall, the defensive lines really dictated this football game, led by the MVP of the game, Oklahoma Sooners defensive tackle Petrie Winfrey, who had 2 sacks on the day, was disruptive all day on the interior. I thought it wasn't just Petrie and Winfrey, but it was also, Jesse Licata. It was Minnesota edge rusher Boye Mafe with a few sacks. I mean, these guys were consistently getting to the American quarterbacks, Malik Willis, Billy Zapp, Sam Howell as well. You look at Myjai Sanders from Cincinnati had a couple really nice speed rushes on the edge. It is apparent that if the Eagles want an edge rusher this year, even if it's not with one of their first 3 picks in the first round of the NFL draft, with that second round pick, a third round pick, there is a lot of top tier talent on the defensive line, and it is deep as well. Obviously, Florida State edge rusher Jermaine Johnson stole the show this week during practice. He did not participate in the game today, so that gave an opportunity for guys like Sanders, guys like Winfrey and Licata, and, also Boye Mafe, an opportunity to really showcase what they could do. And so I thought the biggest takeaway was how the defensive line really took over, especially for the defensive side of the football. On defense, too, I was really, really impressed with the Baylor safety tandem. I think when you look at what the Eagles could need at the safety position and where they would be maybe willing to pick one in the draft, it would probably more be the second round, third round, because I don't think Notre Dame's Kyle Hamilton will fall to the 15, 16, or 19 range. And then is Jaquan Brisker worth a pick there? Are we more likely to wait until the second or third round? And if that's the case, there are some interesting names here that could be of interest to the Birds. And the one guy I thought I really noticed all day and really all throughout the week of practice was Baylor safety Jalen Petrie. I thought he had a great week in practice, had a huge hit today that helped with a pass breakup. And overall, I thought just a really strong week from Petrie, capped off by today's game. And then when you look at as well, his counterpart at safety, Baylor safety JT Woods, had the game-sealing interception today. And I thought JT Woods also showed that he can close in with speed. He can do well in coverage. I think the Baylor safeties are 2 players the Eagles should take a close look at. And I thought they both had really good games today, capped off with that turnover. So overall, I thought the defenses were more impressive today than the offenses, led by that pass rush. But when you think about the offense, Starting with quarterback, the biggest takeaways today were the players with the most physical upside are the guys that look the best. And I think that makes sense when it comes to not playing with these receivers, these offensive lines, not being ever coached by these coaches. I think, when it comes to a player that needs to rely more on timing and scheme and chemistry, maybe somebody like Carson Strong of Nevada, or even Kenny Pickett to a lesser degree at Pittsburgh. Not to say that Kenny Pickett doesn't have mobility, but he absolutely does. But guys that can rely more on, their physical upside, their mobility, a strong arm, being able to improvise, the likes of Malik Willis from Liberty and Desmond Ritter of Cincinnati. Those two definitely stood out today at quarterback. I thought Sam Howell also struggled. He was strip sacked twice. I thought he ran the football really well, but overall you can, again, kind of see his limitations. I thought Kenny Pickett was solid as you can get. And I think that's exactly what you get in Pickett as a prospect. He was perfect 6 for 6 today, 89 yards and a touchdown. He did have that big 38-yard completion to North Dakota State wide receiver Christian Watson. It was underthrown, though. I thought another one of his big first down completions was thrown behind the receiver. I thought Pickett could have been a little more sharp, but he had a solid week of practice, and I don't know if he's going to be a great quarterback at the NFL level. I don't know if he's going to be, I see the Joe Burrow comparison a lot. I don't know if he'll get to that level, but he definitely seemed like, throughout the week in Mobile, he's a quarterback that is most ready to start in 2022, and I don't think he's someone that you have to worry about being a bust at this level, depending on what you want him to be. I think there's a really high floor with Pickett, and not to say there isn't a high ceiling, but I think you could see today that there is a higher ceiling with Desmond Ritter, with Malik Willis. Malik Willis, all week I thought he was really impressing more so with his arm, with his timing, with his accuracy in the pocket, even during that rainy practice on Wednesday. But then today during the game, he showed off his real strength, which is that mobility. Plays were breaking down throughout that first quarter that he played. And like I said, the national defense up front, especially at defensive tackle, they were wrecking the American offensive line. And so Willis was kind of running for his life all day, as were all of the quarterbacks. And during those scramble drills, you could see that, again, I'm going to keep saying it, Michael Vick, Lamar Jackson-like explosion at this position that you really have barely ever seen outside of those two other players in NFL history. He has generational mobility at quarterback. He has a gear, he has speed that has only been seen a few other times, and that was apparent today. There were 2, 3, 4 plays where it seemed like it was over, the pass rush had closed in, nobody was open, and he pulled a rabbit out of a hat and made some really long, tough runs, and he also just, lived to find another play. I remember the one play I really liked, it was just an incompletion, but he escaped. There was a free rusher right in his face, a defensive tackle coming off of play action. Willis had no idea that he was behind him, turns around and boom, this 300-pound tackle's right in his face. He sidesteps him like it's absolutely nothing. He's got a joystick. He's got jukes that very Lamar Jackson-like. And then, he just threw it away. He didn't force anything. And that's also what the mobility can do, is allow you to, live to fight another down, as long as you don't get tunnel vision and you don't try to force the issue. And I thought Malik picked and chose his spots really well today. Only was 2 of 4 for 11 yards, but he did help force a pass interference deep down the field to Calvin Austin. And then he had those 4 carries for 54 yards. Malik, clearly the most talented quarterback in this class. And then I thought Desmond Ritter was really impressive. 4 for 6 today, 68 yards. And he had 2 touchdowns, also 3 rushes for 12 yards. Ritter made a couple wow throws yet again. He had a brutal practice on Tuesday, and then he really started to string things together. I thought Wednesday was really good. He made a couple really awesome throws that not many other quarterbacks could make. And then the same thing on Thursday. And then today, the one throw to Romeo Doubs of Nevada over the right sideline as Doubs was crossing over, Ritter puts it in between 3 defenders. There's a safety behind Doubs. There's a corner trailing him. There's another corner in zone coverage that's closing in. Ritter drops it into this triangle of defenders right to Doubs. And that again shows that arm talent that is really special. The 2 touchdowns were on play action rollouts. He looks really smooth and really comfortable throwing on the run. I thought Ritter today was mistake-free and really did show off that potential. Again, he's got a long way to go still with mechanics. He's a project. I don't think he'll be a day one starter this year. I think he'll be a first-round pick, but I'm not sure. After this week, though, in Mobile, I think he certainly did help his stock, and that really wasn't the case. I was pretty disappointed, Tuesday and then halfway through Wednesday's practice, but he definitely did pick it up and finish strong. And I thought Ritter and Willis were the strongest quarterbacks today during the game. Pickett was okay, and then I was disappointed in Carson Strong and Sam Howell. I think they are clearly, quarterback, I would say 4 or 5 or 5 and 6. I think you definitely have Malik Willis ahead of them, Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ritter, Matt Corral, those 4. Then it's Strong and Howell in some other order. Strong today just, again, kind of showed his limitations. He had a bad interception where he underthrew Romeo Doubs, who was his receiver at Nevada. Strong tends to be one of the best when it comes to arm power. Haven't seen a guy like that with that kind of arm, or at least not many players coming out year after year with that arm strength. So it was kind of unlike him to underthrow a pass, but definitely did seem limited, and he was pretty rusty today. So wasn't overly impressed with Strong or Sam Howell. I thought some of the best offensive players today were the running backs. I thought Baylor's Abram Smith looked like the best running back on the field today. Yards after contact, it was really hard for the American defense to bring him down. 11 carries for 48 yards, 4.4 yards per carry. Also had 2 catches for 19 yards and a touchdown. And I thought Rachaad White, the Arizona State running back for the national team, looked really sharp today. Another player that, yards after contact, those two had really physical styles today. 11 carries for 52 yards. And my co-host Gino Camilleri, he tweeted out today, like, those guys could be that Jordan Howard replacement. And who knows what the Eagles are going to do at running back this year with Boston Scott as a free agent and Jordan Howard. There are going to be options, as there pretty much will be every single year in day 2 and day 3 of the NFL draft. I also thought Dameon Pierce looked physical, the Florida running back. He had a really strong week, finished it off strong today. And Brian Robinson, the Alabama running back, had a few nice plays. So I thought it was a good day for the backfield. At receiver and at tight end, man, let me tell you, Jake Ferguson, the Wisconsin tight end, he is not as flashy as Isaiah Likely. He is not maybe as versatile as Trey McBride. But Jake Ferguson is just such a solid pass catcher. And I don't know if he's going to be a true tight end 1 at the NFL level, but he catches everything. 3 catches for 62 yards and a touchdown today. A couple nice first down conversions, had that long 25-yard reception, did cap it off with a touchdown from Desmond Ritter in the second half. Ferguson is a favorite of mine for the Eagles. If they want to have that, competition for Jack Stahl and Tyree Jackson next year to be Dallas Goedert's backup, that tight end 2 and 12 personnel. If you want a guy in like the 4th or 5th round, I don't know if you'd have to take him in the 3rd round, but I think Jake Ferguson really helped his stock this week. And that's tough because the tight end class is extremely deep. Trey McBride, who's the consensus tight end 1, 2 catches for 12 yards today and a touchdown. He had a strong week. Cole Turner from Nevada, 2 catches for 44 yards. You can really tell that this is a good tight end class for sure. It's extremely deep. At wide receiver, I think the most consistent player, just creating separation. He only had 2 catches today for 24 yards, but it was the local kid, Southern Alabama's Jalen Tolbert. It was kind of cool. The crowd would, roar every time he would touch the football. But it seemed like all week, just based on how strong of hands he has and making tough contested plays in traffic as well, Jalen Tolbert was the receiver for the American side that the quarterbacks were most comfortable with. And he seems like such a reliable, I don't know if he's going to be a great player at the next level, but a Juju Smith-Schuster type of dependable player, a Jordan Matthews type, if you will, for the Eagles. Maybe he has more upside than that, but I do think he just seems like a rock solid receiver that can really high point the football. And I thought he had a solid day today. Christian Watson made the catch of the game, only had the 1 catch, but it was for 38 yards. Kenny Pickett underthrew him, but Christian Watson, as he's been doing all week, making tough grabs, he dives for it and makes a tough catch. His body control at 6'4" is incredible, and he makes those tough grabs seem routine. He did it all week, made another really nice grab today, consistently was creating separation, but these teams were really running the football a lot. I thought Calvin Austin III as well, the Memphis receiver who won receiver of the week for the American side, had a couple really big plays, 2 catches for 45 yards, had that 39-yarder in the second half, created separation, just looks so explosive. And I know he's 5'7", but if you missed out on Elijah Moore last year, if you missed out on Rondale Moore, here's your chance for redemption with Calvin Austin. He has really helped his stock, and he might be looking at a second-round grade right now, maybe third round, depending on where these other receivers go. But Calvin Austin really helped his stock, also showed his return ability today. So I thought Calvin Austin stood out, Christian Watson, Jalen Tolbert at the wide receiver spots. Bo Melton, actually, I thought was more impressive in this game than he was during the week of practice. I thought he had a couple really nice returns. He showed some explosion on a couple touches, some pre-snap motion, could kind of show you what he could do as a versatile piece, a gadget player, and Isaiah McKenzie maybe for the Buffalo Bills, if you will, at the next level. I thought he did some good things today for the national side. So overall, I thought it was a great day for both teams. There wasn't a lot of offense, wasn't a lot of explosive plays, but I thought there were players at each position that really did show a lot. I think the defensive line won the day, but I thought there were some good receivers today that showed me a lot, quarterbacks, running backs, secondary players as well. It was an awesome day to cap off an awesome week of evaluation, because the draft does truly start in Mobile, and it was a great week at the Senior Bowl. 20-10 was the final score today in favor of the national team. I'm Louis DiBiase, the host of the Locked On Eagles podcast. Guys, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to our channel for daily videos throughout the week and daily podcasts. We're your only daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. We're on all podcast platforms, and we're in video form on YouTube. Make sure you follow us on Twitter as well, at Locked On Birds, at DiBiase LOE, and at GC24_football. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, let's go Birds.